Today, we're diving into a novel that was so scandalous when it came out in 1899 that it pretty much tanked its author's career. We're talking about Kate Chopin's The Awakening. It's this incredible story about one woman's search for herself, and boy, does it ask some radical questions that are still hitting home today. At its heart, the whole novel is wrestling with this one massive question. What does freedom really look like when you're living in a world that's basically designed to stop you from having it? This is the huge dilemma our main character, Edna Pontellier, is about to face. So, to really get Edna's struggle, we've got to understand her world. And her world is, well, it's like a gilded cage. We're talking about the super specific, tradition-heavy rules of 19th century Creole society down in Louisiana. See, in this wealthy, upper-crust society, there was a very clear ideal for what a respectable woman should be. The novel calls it the mother woman. This wasn't just a suggestion. It was the whole script. Your entire identity, everything you were, was supposed to be wrapped up in your husband, your kids, and your home. That's it. And right there, that's the central conflict of the entire book. It's this massive collision between the role society has written for her, the perfect wife, the doting mother, and this new, emerging search for who she is, for an identity that belongs to her and nobody else.
So where does a change this big even begin? Well, it all starts during a summer vacation, with an awakening by the sea at a resort called Grand Isle.
Two things happen at Grand Isle that really kickstart Edna's transformation. First, there's an emotional spark. She forms this connection with a young man, Robert Lebrun, and it's more than a simple crush. He makes her see that a whole other kind of life is even possible. And second, there's a physical one. She learns to swim. This is huge. It becomes this powerful symbol of her finally taking control of her own body, of owning herself, and of not being afraid of risk. And you can't talk about learning to swim without talking about the sea itself. The sea is, without a doubt, the most important symbol in this book. It's not just water. It's everything Edna is reaching for. It's freedom. It's passion. It's a life beyond the stuffy rules of society. But, and this is crucial, it's also dangerous. It's this beautiful, seductive promise, but it could also swallow you whole. Okay, so summer ends, and Edna takes this newfound awareness back home to New Orleans. And this is where her awakening stops being just an internal feeling and becomes real, visible action. This is all about her starting to rebel against society's rules. So what does this rebellion look like? Well, she takes some very real steps. First, she just stops doing her social duties, like hosting a weekly reception day, which was a huge deal for a wife of her status. Next, she starts taking her art seriously, finding time alone to actually express herself. And then, she makes the most radical move of all. She moves out of the family mansion and gets her own little place, which she calls the Pigeon House. Now, the novel cleverly shows us the two very limited paths available to women at the time through two other characters. On one side, you have Adele Radinol. She's the perfect mother woman, completely devoted to her family and totally approved of by society. On the other side is Mademoiselle Rice, this brilliant pianist who is a true artist. She has independence, sure, but she's also totally isolated, a social outcast. So Edna's stuck, right? She's caught between these two flawed choices, total conformity or total isolation. And one of the most brilliant things the book does is use physical spaces to explore these ideas. The big Pontellier's family house, that's all about social duty and keeping up appearances. Mademoiselle Rice's lonely apartments, that's artistic freedom, but also isolation. And Edna's little pigeon house, it's her attempt at freedom, but the name alone suggests it might be just another kind of cage. The houses in this book aren't just buildings, they're ideas. But this kind of rebellion doesn't just happen without consequences. It's not a simple success story. So let's pivot and look at the fallout, the high cost of freedom, and how Edna's rebellion starts to unravel. Remember Robert Lebrun, the guy from this summer who sparked this whole thing? Well, he comes back. But here's the truly painful twist. The man who awakened her desire for a different life is, in the end, too afraid to live it. He just can't handle a relationship that breaks all the rules, and he backs away, retreating to the safety of what's considered normal. And this is where the book gets really sharp about what freedom even means. You start to see the limits of Edna's escape. For one thing, her independence is only possible because she's wealthy. She has the money and privilege to just walk away from her duties. The book also makes it painfully clear that society has absolutely no template, no sustainable option for the kind of woman she's trying to become. Even her affair with another man, Alcia Arabin, just ends up showing the gap between raw desire and having a life that's actually accepted by the world. And throughout the whole story, Chopin keeps using this image of birds, often birds with broken wings. It's such a powerful symbol for a limited escape. It suggests that no matter how hard Edna tries to fly, she's still been wounded by her cage, and maybe, just maybe, a true escape isn't possible. All of this leads us to one of the most famous and debated endings in American literature. We don't get a neat little bow on this story. Instead, we're left with an ending that has no easy answers, as Edna makes one final, fateful return to the sea. So, what are we supposed to make of this? How do we read it? One way is to see it as an act of ultimate liberation. Is she finally breaking free from the cage for good, becoming one with the freedom of the sea on her own terms? Or is it the exact opposite? Is this an act of complete surrender? A final, tragic admission that there's just no place in the world for her, that every road she tried was a dead end? But there's a third way to look at it, too. Maybe it's a final protest, a way of saying, if this world won't make room for me, then I refuse to be in it at all. An ultimate act of defiance against an impossible situation. And here's the thing. The novel never tells you which one is right. It refuses to give you a simple answer. And its lasting power, the reason we still talk about it today, is right there in that ambiguity. So if we put it all together, this quote really nails it. The Awakening is all about exploring that deep desire for your own life, but also the real-world material limits that make it so hard to achieve, especially when society offers zero space for the kind of person you're trying to be. It's a story that holds both the dream and the harsh reality in perfect, heartbreaking balance. And that leaves us with one last haunting question, a question that jumps right out of the 19th century and lands squarely in our laps today. If the world you live in leaves no room for this self you are becoming, what other choice do you have? That's the question The Awakening dared to ask, and it's one we're all still trying to answer.